A warm welcome back to GlobeTrotting. Boeing is a leading aerospace manufacturer, positioned to really provide solutions to airlines that are seeking new aircraft. This can range from single-aisle jets to wide bodies. There are many other arms to the Boeing operation, but I like to focus on the commercial division. However, the last few years have presented their fair share of problems, and in 2025, I want to pose the question of what problems still remain affecting the American plane maker. Can they actually overcome these, and what is truly next? Firstly, one of Boeing's largest challenge has been in the certification of the upcoming aircraft known as the 777X, this going to be its true flagship widebody. The 777X was launched in 2013 and pitted as a competitor to the A350 and an obvious answer to the eventually aging classic 777 which launched in the 1990s. However, despite the launch now being 12 years ago, the plane remains 5 years overdue, not certified, not nearing approval, and has really failed to see a delivery take place. And as a result, customers' frustrations have increased tenfold, presenting Boeing with some concerns. As the plane maker has been unable to certify the series, further issues have been highlighted about their ability to stick to established timelines, not have the quality concerns emerge, and so much more. All in all, this has threatened their market share and possible ability to secure prospective aircraft orders in the more immediate short term. Where the 777X has been incapable of being approved and is a proven jet for airlines, its direct rival, the A350, has been really successful and enjoyed years of operation. This certainly aided through the ultimate. This is absolutely aided because it did launch earlier, but it has been proven and has been reliable, and it's put Boeing at risk of losing market share. While the 777X may be considered for ever so specific orders, some airlines may just see the 350 as a safer and less risky option. Another impact of Boeing's recent struggles to sustain quality has been its production rates, which have dropped considerably over recent years. Production rates have dropped, and therefore so have deliveries. All this has occurred while backlogs have continued growing, and as a result, there have been quite colossal delays in delivering planes to customers. Primarily centered around the 737 MAX, airlines have been incapable of taking the single-aisle jet on time. The FAA, the governing regulator, has increased its oversight of the plane makers tenfold, and because of this, it has reduced the plane makers' monthly output rate as well, which presents its troubles. Unfortunately, the FAA has also confirmed that their insight into the airline will continue throughout 2025, with the grip simply not being eased, and as a result, Boeing cannot increase production on the MAX and work through its backlog in a quick enough manner to keep up with all the orders coming in. Some airlines have expressed their frustrations, but also equal understanding. These airlines basically have their hands tied. Why is that? Well, because concerning the availability of aircraft, there's not really all that much they can do, especially when all of the output rate increases are decided by the Federal Aviation Administration, who will eventually allow the plane maker to increase their production rates only when they see that Boeing is in a fit enough position to do so. Another significant concern for Boeing is its loss of trust in key stakeholders. This loss of confidence has accumulated over many years, with poor decisions being made internally. From the standpoint of the general public and once backers of the plane maker, much of the confidence in the Boeing product has been decimated. When the manufacturer is publicly mentioned, you'll probably know nowadays the general feedback is negative. Once it was pride, now it is the complete opposite. And if you dive into any comments taking a look at Boeing on forums and or especially social media posts, it's a place you probably have to wear a hazmat suit to go into. Moreover, many employee groups have come out internally over the last decade and expressed their frustrations with the company's state and the lack of trust that is present in upper management. There's been really that massive shift in the last year or so between having an upper management that can be trusted, relied upon, and also have a good relationship with those on the floor. But to say that's been the case for the last 10 years would be incorrect. Unfortunately for all these key stakeholders and even airline customers that have expressed their doubts, Boeing still has an uphill battle to climb, and certain parties believe Boeing is making good progress turning around its efforts, but knows that the response isn't going to come overnight. In the past, The planemaker was said to have been improving and making the right choices. However, all that so-called progress unraveled, you may know, at the beginning of 2024, when a Doyle blowout incident certainly unveiled that there were fresh concerns with the manufacturer and also just a lack of progress that was being made. Now, Boeing is seemingly starting from scratch again and making all the necessary investments, but more importantly is taking its time, and this is where it is encouraging to say the least. At the beginning of the video, I wanted to very evidently take a look at the problems impacting the planemaker, but equally see where improvements were being made. And while trust can definitely be hard to rebuild, Boeing is taking a much more slowed approach, and this is going to be important for the long-term health. You have key lessors and airlines coming out and expressing that they see visible improvements in the planemaker. Even the FAA is seeing improvements, but for the latter, it's just not enough. And while I would argue that maybe the airlines have a conflict of interest, no doubt everything that's taking place, if what Boeing is saying is true, would definitely indicate changes in the positive manner. While much talk also on certification has been around the upcoming flagship, the 777X, next on the list is the reality that there is more than one variant that has yet to be certified part of the MAX family. The 737-7 and the 737-10 have yet to receive their formal certification, and in a similar manner, their timelines for expected approval have only continued to balloon to a point where now in 2025, the jets not only remain unapproved, but also on top of that, they have not completed those scheduled passenger flights, and a timeline remains very vague. These two variants, especially the high-capacity 737-10, will play a pretty important role for airlines right around the world. Given the lack of Boeing's middle-of-the-market airliner, well, for carriers who do not believe the 787-8 is the answer for NMA flying and still want to stick with the American manufacturer, the only available option is the 737-10, and even that would definitely be a stretch. However, with so many delays in getting these variants approved, airlines have been forced to adjust their order books at times quite heavily, with some airlines simply not being able to wait and requiring the capacity on a more immediate basis. And with MAX deliveries being delayed, they've foregone the capacity increase that they would receive from the 737-10 to move towards already certified units to make sure that they can remain competitive. Airlines making harsh decisions such as these shouldn't have to happen. Still, however, they are under the harsh reality of a situation unfolding, and there's a lot of uncertainty about when these two planes will be certified. So in a similar sense to the 777X, airlines that are awaiting these planes have their hands tied and are basically at the mercy of the American manufacturer. So to conclude, Boeing faces, yes, a very much uphill battle to turn around its fortunes and navigate the many problems that plague it as a business. Honorable mentions that were not included in this video and might need to be necessary for a follow-up are the company's financial positions, as it also goes on to battle with Airbus to really launch the next commercial airliner and not lose further ground, which is critical if they want to stand any chance at really being a long-term success and to close the gap between themselves and the European planemaker, regaining the all-important title as the largest and most successful planemaker in the world on an annual basis. But progress is being made. In the last few months, the Boeing 777X saw brake testing be conducted, and while there's a lot of uncertainties around much more, there are visible improvements between now and January 2024, and we have to take everything we're given, for it has definitely been a long road and is only going to continue to be one. But a fully rebuilt Boeing is huge for our aviation industry, and as much as Airbus has gained the upper hand, they will even be the first to admit that a better Boeing is better for our industry, period. They'll go on to compete with each other, try and push each other with innovation, and so much more. Keen to hear your take down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel, and I will indeed see you in a couple of days for more industry analysis.
And we'll fly.